It's another exclusive. Go ahead and get seated. You know the name, I ain't gotta repeat it. Keep it bumping like a mosh pit, rocking through the night. If you love it, leave a comment, hit subscribe and like. Always raise the bar, reaching for new heights. Shining like a star, illuminating with the light. I know you see me from afar. I'm burning bright.
Hi. How you doing, Ariel? Ariel. Sorry, I keep on saying Ariel. It's Ariel. Ariel.
I'm doing all right.
I should know that by now. Could you do me a favor? I did not get that link that we're going to be jumping from. I didn't get it open. Could you drop it in the private chat for me so I could get it opened up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, fair warning, my vision's a bit blurry. Sometimes it just gets like that, so I'm going to try my best, but at points it might get a bit difficult. It could also just be that, copy link. Here you go. But,
okay. Thank you.
I also think it's just kind of important to mention before we get started that last time we did this, we got super off track because there were trolls in the chat. And I mean,
right.
It at the end of the day, why troll if you don't want someone to be talking about something? But yeah, so.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to focus on the chat. We probably will get a lot of hate because this is not really going to be a topic that a lot of people want to hear about.
All right. So let me see if I can remember where we were last time. One moment.
Okay, you got it too? Okay.
Let's see. Is this the? That's the beginning here.
Yeah, let me get it put up there for you. There you go.
And I'm also going to check where we were last time because that will probably be easier.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Here going to the last one, and we were at. That's weird. This must not be the right part. Sorry about this. I should have had it ready ahead of time. Oh, wait. Okay, that's right. This is a wrong. So I have to go back to the table of contents. That was the issue. And what I might do is I might end up actually reading this on my phone because that way I can have it like closer up for myself. So
okay.
That's probably what I'll do.
Okay.
Let's see. I just need to open up the actual link on my phone. All right. So we're at.
We didn't get very far because we got off track.
We're on introduction, right? Okay, so
right. Yeah, we're still at the introduction.
Yeah. Okay, so introduction. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here I think I found it. Let's see. Okay, here I think I found it. There's feedback. Okay, here I think I found a good place to. Okay, here. So we're starting from here. Are you able to see?
Yep.
Okay. You have just had a glimpse into, also just to give a bit of context to anyone who didn't see the first one or to catch people up. This is it's a document that was written by a housewife who, I mean, she did a lot of her research. Everything here is well cited, but basically talking about how the type of anti-Semitism in and of itself, as opposed to like Jew hatred or Judeophobia of the past, is really a modern revolution and something that has to do with not entirely the New Age movement, but like a lot of elements within it, especially like if you look back at the history of it going back to its foundation, as opposed to just the idea of incorporating different spiritual traditions. So you have just had a glimpse into the internal logic of the plan. The unassuming title New. I also do want to point out, I think I pointed out last time, that the plan is also how QAnon refers to like the idea, like the quote unquote plan to get rid of the cabal, which in some cases is just thinly veiled anti-Semitism. At other points, there's like legitimate criticisms of like like multinational corporations, but they inevitably have to ideologically tie it back to some sort of racial or ethnic group in order to. Anyway, so the unassuming title New Age leaders have given their agenda. The Jewish people, whether they know it or not, are a dysfunctional segment of humanity. Anyone who humors them is not doing them or the world any favors. Their rehabilitation must begin by eliminating the religion which gave them these delusions, a religion so powerful that it unfortunately has infected other religions and peoples with a belief in the one God as revealed to Israel. To set things right, part of New Age transformation of society involves spreading disinformation about the Jewish religion. There is no concern here for one second. So one thing to point out there is this is part of like, again, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, this is something that definitely like plays into the type of stuff that so yeah, because it's interesting. You have movements that just like reject Abrahamic traditions or like monotheism, and then you have ones that they try to co-opt it for their own goals, and oftentimes it's in order to try to kind of inject those ideas into the mainstream thought of whatever group that is. And again, it's not always the case, but like I've been looking into another group. I'm trying to keep it on the DL for now because, well,
right. I know which one you're talking about.
So like I definitely think that that's things you can see. Okay, so the Jewish people, whether they know it or not, are a religion so powerful that it unfortunately has infected. Okay. To set things right, part of New Age transformation of society involves spreading disinformation about the Jewish religion. There is no concern here for factual accuracy. Sound like anyone we know?
Mm-hmm.
Truth is irrelevant. Yeah. Truth is irrelevant to the art of molding public opinion in an entity war. As New Ager and UN leader Robert Mueller, not the one who prosecuted Trump, a different Robert Mueller, has described it. The goal behind delegitimization of this religion is to remove its influence from the other spiritual systems, especially from Christianity, the daughter religion of Judaism and the most corrupted by it. If possible, the goal is to remove Jews from its influence as well, and those who crave to be accepted by the world will eagerly help them trash Judaism and their peoplehood along with it. As for Jews who refuse to give up their identity delusion, the plan has a final solution. Benevolent, of course. So, scroll down a bit. If you support, okay, I'm starting to be able to see a bit better. I don't know if reading helped, but if you support the progressive agenda, the progressive idea that Jews have a future without the old age Judaism, then dare to test it. Go out and see if you can find Jewish children raised without loyalty to Torah, who still care to identify themselves as Jews. You will find some, but then search for their children. Talk to the many who have left the Jewish label behind as irrelevant, and you will find them both intelligent and brutally honest. They have simply faced the truth more squarely than their parents. The new Judaism cannot justify itself to the next generation. This is not to be confused with those who reject Judaism for hypocrisy, lukewarm worship, racial arrogance, all of which are sins against Torah. So something to point out here is she's not talking about those who reject what they perceive as Judaism because of hypocrisy, lukewarm worship, or racial arrogance, which you do have elements of all of those in the Jewish community, just like you have it in every community, but those aren't Jewish values.
Right.
So all of which are sins against Torah. This is a completely different issue, which is legitimate and will be discussed elsewhere. Here, I mean the new Judaism, which rejects Torah itself as the sin. Interesting. That also ties together with well, you know what I'm talking about, but the New Age, so number 2, the New Age is founded on spiritual racism. If you believe Jewish people are accepted as equals in the coming age of Aquarius, you are uninformed concerning the doctrine of racial karma. This is a basic teaching of theosophy. the mainspring of the New Age movement, and is expanded in the writings of Alice A. Bailey. It limits all Jews to inferior spiritual status, regardless of their enlightened behavior. Never heard of it? This series of series of articles? Yeah, this series of articles is dedicated to acquainting you with this and other foundational teachings of New Age philosophy, which are overlooked in courses for seekers, seminars for world servers, and low-level initiations into esoteric schools and societies. The truth of my claims, of Hannah's claims, that is, can be verified by anyone with access to the unabridged works of key New Age leaders quoted in the series.
Right. So I want to say, like, that low, oh my gosh, like that low level initiation into esoteric schools and societies. That's what I did. That was me. That's what I did with this whole movement, because I wasn't really down with the woo woo and the star seeds. I was like, come on now, I'm not down with that. However, those low level initiations, right, is definitely. And also, I want to say that another one to add to that list is Annie Besant. Read Annie Besant. She goes right along with Alice Bailey's work.
Yeah, I think she does get mentioned at some point.
Oh, does she? Nice. Yeah, she should.
So, real quickly, because I think this is a perfect time to bring it up, the racism of Blavatsky's secret doctrine. A quick point is by nobody listens to Andrew. Well, Andrew, I'm listening to you.
Okay, I'm going to mute.
Hello, friends. It's Friday, September 27th. This is going to be a super quick video. I promise I'm not going to blather on and on and on. I'm preparing for my class next week. We're going to be talking about Blavatsky and the secret doctrine and the Theosophical Society, and how her ideas about Atlantis, how they compare to Ignatius Donnelly's, and some of those threads that have continued today into today's thinking about Atlantis and lost civilizations and that sort of stuff. One of the kind of overarching themes of this class is how conceptions of race play out in these ideas about lost continents, lost civilizations, where culture comes from, how it moves, what human variation means. A lot of these ideas go back to the age of European exploration and colonization. A lot of them kind of become ossified in the late 1800s, so it's a super interesting period to look at. I think she uses the term race in a complex way. It means different things at different times. There are 7 root races that have sub-races. Each of those root races is associated with a continent, and these continents are kind of emerging and sinking, and her timeline goes way, way back before Atlantis. But anyway, the Aryan race, and is the 5th root race, so that is where we are in, where we're in now, according to her. And it has several sub-races. Let me read the sub-races. Okay, the sub-races of the Aryan race, according to Blavatsky, are the Hindu, the Arabian, the Persian, the Celts, the Teutonic, something in...
So that's actually a really interesting point, that they include Arabians as Aryans and not as Semites. Which, I mean, like, again, I think that this is more out of a misunderstanding than anything else, but I do kind of wonder if that's also part of the reason why, certain figures within the New Age movement don't criticize Islam, but they do criticize Christianity and Judaism. Not because, Islam's part of this, but because they see Islam as somehow not, connected. There's an argument to be had that, similarly to how Judaism or Israelite religion emerged out of Canaanite tradition, that Islam similarly kind of emerged out of South Arabian polytheism with definite influence from Judaism and Christianity. And so maybe they're looking at that and they're saying like, oh, well, it's closer to polytheism than Judaism. I honestly have no clue where the rationale is, but the fact is that all you have to do is look at someone of Jewish ancestry and someone of Arabian ancestry, and there's clear connections. But also just, there's connections between every people, because there is no such thing as like this race versus this race. There's cultures that you could say like they're, a majority of people in this ethnic group have, this genetic trait, but when you actually look at it, it's not as simple as, oh, well, this is this group of people because they come from this group of people. because people are constantly mixing with other people. But to continue.
North America, the sixth subrace.
I was muted and I was answering you the whole time. I was like, yes, we're mixed. We're all mixed. I've looked at about 50 people's DNA variations and everybody's mixed. There's nobody one pure. There's just not people. Sorry. There's not.
Yeah. Also, it does make me kind of wonder this idea. So that that we're in like the fifth race or whatever. Does this tie into transhumanism at all? Like this idea of like the next race of humanity needs to emerge or something.
Right. I don't know. They know. We can take educated guesses. It's really all we have.
Oh, speaking of, I don't know. I think it will mention. Oh, by the way, happy 420 where I am. I don't know if we'll get to it, but do you know who Barbara Marx Hubbard is?
Barbara Hubbard, yes, I've covered her.
Yeah.
I've covered her. When me and my friend Deb were doing What the Fuck Betty videos, we covered Barbara Hubbard. Yes, her father was the most successful toy maker of the time. And now she's wanting to merge humans with machines, growing up with her father being the world's most successful toy maker. Okay, so let that sink in.
And then on top of that, she married the brother of L. Ron Hubbard.
Right. That Hubbard branches out. There was a Hubbard, Zach Hubbard. Do you know who Zach Hubbard is? While we're on the
Isn't he that gematria maniac?
yes. Yes.
And it's not even gematria; it's literally just English numerology. That's been one of my big pet peeves. Like, if someone's going to do it right, but at the end of the day, it's more about having a means of controlling people's perception than it is about actually trying to propagate the truth for a lot of these people. But
right. Well, I mean, he got my friend Rambo involved, and Rambo got so good at the prediction with the gematria that they targeted him, and he had to remove his whole platform.
Wow. But and then another thing that I think is worth mentioning is that kind of along with the mention of Barbara Marx Hubbard, that there is a mention in this text about kind of because, and it was briefly mentioned that there's like people who are Jewish who are like convinced that there's nothing wrong with this and they actively participate, and a lot of it is due to this idea that like it's a phenomenon that exists in every group of people, basically viewing yourself as better than the rest of the group that you come from. Like you can see this with there's definitely elements of that, and again, not to say it's not on the reverse, but you have elements of like people who are who are like very far right, but then they happen to be like Latino or Black or Native American, and like in ways that it would maybe seem to go against their own policy interests. And then you also have like trans people or gay people who vote or wait, was that I'm trying to think what the opposite would be. Or actually, no, that would be the opposite, where they vote Republican versus. Sorry,
that would be along the lines of that association that arose during 2020 called Gays Against Groomers. They would probably lean further right than left.
Yeah, or and I like that would be like someone who say maybe they're like they. Oh yeah, the opposite would be someone who grew up in like rural America, and then they're left wing, but they're surrounded by a lot of people who are right wing. So I mean, you have this in all sides of society, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It depends on what the person does with their beliefs.
Right. Exactly.
Apparently happening now in California. And the seventh subrace, which has not emerged yet, the survivors of the great new cataclysm that will soon destroy the Aryan root race. So when I've been reading through these lists of the root races, I thought, well, that actually
and then that kind of ties in with accelerationism potentially, because like this idea.
Fucking death cults, man.
a great cataclysm that, and I mean, I've heard it from a scary amount of people who like I thought were reasonable that ascribe to accelerationism, where they're like, well, you know, the world's shit. Why don't we just burn it down and hope that we build something better? It's like, that's giving way too much power to the people who want to remake society in their own
Yeah.
way.
Right. Nobody voted for this. They're just trudging along, right? They're just going to do what they want to do.
Well, apparently the Ascended Masters voted for them.
Leaves a lot of people out that we know about in the world today. So what does she do with those people? So that got me looking for treatments of kind of Blavatsky's thinking on race and the way that we would understand it today, you know, compared to the way that they might have understood it in the 19th century. So I found this paper called The Notion of Race in Theosophy by James Santucci, a 2008 paper in the journal Novo Religio, the Journal of Alternative and Emergent Religions. Okay, sounds interesting. I haven't read the whole paper yet. I only have access to the abstract at this point, but I was piqued by the last line in the abstract. Race, as interpreted in the secret doctrine, is not racist in intent, and the races are seen as having one thing in common, the divine spark that ultimately makes all races the same in essence. So that seems to be it's kind of an apologetic view of the secret doctrine and Blavatsky's views on race. And the reason it struck me was that it seemed to directly counter something that I had just read in the secret doctrine. And I want to read that part now. Okay, so this is a footnote on page 421 of The Secret Doctrine, Volume 2.
Wow.
Mankind is obviously divided into God-informed men and lower human creatures. The intellectual difference between the Aryan and other civilized nations and such savages as the South Sea Islanders is inexplicable on any other grounds. No amount of culture, nor generations of training amid civilization could raise such human specimens as the Bushmen, the Vedas of Ceylon, and some African tribes to the same intellectual level as the Aryans, the Semites, and the Turanians, so-called. The quote-unquote sacred spark is missing in them.
But I thought everybody has a sacred spark.
Is she talking about the difference between narcissists and empaths? Because I'm just like, what the fuck is she talking about?
No, she's talking about the difference between Aryan, Semites, and Turanians, and like quote-unquote bush people, as she uses.
Bush people.
Yeah, like people who live in the bush.
Oh, you mean the people that are the closest to nature and closest connection to the divine spark? Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Whatever, lady.
From what I understand, that would include within it the context of like the Aboriginal people of Australia, who literally have like one of the most continuous and mystical traditions that is still practiced, with the whole idea of the dream time and the rainbow serpent.
Yes, exactly. And I know someone that has been inducted into those tribes. And if he was to see this, he'd probably fly off the handle. And he's as white as they come. I mean, besides being albino, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, burns quick in the sun. And he was into the Aboriginal tribe in Australia.
But yeah,
He would not go for this.
It's stunning that you can have people literally say like I get if she didn't say the thing that they don't have the spark, but she's just saying that they're lower than, okay, maybe you could try to like, you know, inject in that there's a spark there. She just mentioned it. She outright says they don't have the divine spark.
Right.
And I do want to point out, it's not within the context of genetics, but there is a very close parallel with how Amon Hillman describes Mother Greek as like the superior language. It's the only language capable of containing the mystery. But if you listen to what he's saying, he's basically implying that the language of Greek and all the languages which influenced it, which again implicitly Indo-European, and I mean he even talks about like Pelasgian, and he touches on the Scythians and alludes to the whole. I mean he even brings up Aryans straight up. He just changes the name so that it's easier to miss that he's, still basically talking about racial theory, just within the context of culture and language rather than genes. And see, that's the thing. Racism isn't bad because it's talking about people's genes. It's bad because it's talking about people as lesser than.
Right, exactly. Condescending. We're being very condescending here, Blavatsky.
And it is they who are the only inferior races on the globe, now happily, owing to the wise adjustment of nature which ever works in that direction, fast dying out. Verily, mankind is, quote, of one blood, unquote, but not of the same essence. We are the hothouse, artificially quickened plants in nature, having in us a spark, which in them is latent.
So you know what's interesting? That a reverse of this idea, but it's not used as a justification for treating people lesser than. There are certain contexts. Also, I should clarify. So this idea that humanity is of one blood but not of the same essence. Okay, that's interesting because you do have a similar idea within like elements of mystical Judaism, but it's not like basically it's the idea that all humanity is created in the image of the divine, in the image of God, and that all humanity stems from one person, Adam, which when it's referring to that, it's like the universal Adam, but then Adam and Eve. But there is this idea that, and it's important to stress this because a lot of people don't realize this. There isn't it's completely devoid of any sort of racial element. The idea that like the divine spark that, and again, there's this idea that everybody has a divine spark, but then there's this additional idea of like a godly soul as opposed to just an animal soul. And but with that, like basically the animal soul is like what makes you seek out pleasure or self-interest. And again, it's not necessarily bad. I mean, if you want to make money and your job is a doctor, as long as you're being a good doctor and you're not trying to make money off of your patients, there's a way that self-interest doesn't lead to evil. But then there's this idea of like the godly soul, and then even then there's this idea that anyone can become a Jew because it's not based on ethnicity. And basically the idea that when you become a Jew, like this godly soul like descends into you.
So their thoughts of like being God's chosen people didn't even come from the Jewish people, right?
Right. I mean, I think they might have taken elements of that and they'd be like, oh, these Jews, they think they're so chosen. We're the real chosen people because we're enlightened. But
Okay.
Just to emphasize this means that according to that tradition, of like the Jewish belief in a godly soul, Abraham didn't have a godly soul, Isaac didn't have a godly soul, Jacob didn't have a godly soul, nobody had a godly soul. Well, I guess except for Adam, would it be? But basically that nobody had this until the giving of the Torah at Sinai. So it's not even connected to like the Jewish lineage as is, it's connected to the transmission of Torah.
Okay.
So like I do want to emphasize that because there are people who like they'll read parts of Tanya and they'll see that like that there's something that says like that there's something fundamentally different about Jews than non-Jews. It's not on this physical level. It's about the spiritual level. In the same way that there's something fundamentally different spiritually about every tradition, and to try to say that it's completely comparable, like the idea of having the idea of part of your soul being like given from a god, like in a time when there were multiple gods worship, it was like, okay, so my soul is from this god, your soul is from this god, but ultimately all the gods come from one point. Kind of going into the idea of what monism was, not monotheism, but that everything comes from one source. You still have this idea that everything comes from one. It was just that but then when you have everyone worshiping one god, and then a belief that only certain people have a soul from that god, then it becomes problematic because, okay, well, are you saying that other people don't have godly souls? The issue is that it's purely connected to worship.
Yeah, well, this isn't connected to worship. This is about systems of thought and mind mapping and practice. Like through all these, what they've done is they took from, and it's really weird that they want to talk about the Vedatas in Ceylon, because she got with a guy who was he got in trouble for pedophilia.
Wait, who?
Him and her. oh, what's his name? He looks like a Colonel Sanders guy. He was a really high-ranking Mason, and she traveled with him, and they went to India, and that's where they met Krishnamurti. And
Ledbetter.
Krishnamurti was a little boy. And
Are you
they
talking
brought, huh?
Are you talking about Charles Ledbetter?
It might be Charles, yeah. So they brought Krishna to America and tried to sell him off as the next Christ, right?
Wow.
While also uh, indoctrinating him and abusing him. And a lot of people don't want to look at that aspect of the occult. They don't want to look at the aspect of the sex magic used in the occult and what they do to get what they need in the occult to be able to do these rituals. And I'm wondering if she's not saying to be of the same essence. Is she referring to those that have pederast leanings versus those that do not? Is what I am really wondering. And I'm not saying that the Aryan Semites and the Turanians do, but like, what other possibilities are we talking about? You're really going to have to dig into Blavatsky. I haven't read her in years, and I really don't want to. But to know what she's talking about, you got to find out where her wisdom come from. Where did her ideas of these root races come from? If you want to see who her teachers were, that's how you learn who people, or what people are really driving at with their goals and agendas in their teachings. Is you need to look at who influenced them.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I personally wouldn't go as far to say that, like, I'm not saying pederasty wasn't a thing that they believed in, but like, I don't think it's implicitly implied by the divine spark or whatever. But again, I'm not saying it isn't. I didn't get that impression personally.
Right. We got to see, like, what divine is she talking about? Because her work is very much in line with Hillman's. What divine spark?
We quicken plants in nature, having in us a spark, which in them is latent. Now, if that is not the most 19th century racist thing that you could possibly think to write, I don't know what is. The idea that there are two kinds of people in the world. There are the civilized because they are capable of being civilized, and there's everybody else who is not capable of being civilized, and therefore anything that civilization, any way that civilization interacts with them, whether it's colonialism or slavery, like, is actually doing them a favor. I mean, that's 19th century, 18th century racism to its core. And she says that as a footnote to explain what she means by mankind, more or less. And so she's not talking about everybody when she's talking about the people who have this divine spark and essence that we associate with the Aryans and all the different folks that might mean. A lot of the world gets left out there, and it's because they are lacking something. They are inferior. And that's the textbook definition of racism. So I'd be interested to read the rest of this scholarly article to see if the case is made as to why I shouldn't just believe what she tells me right there. But I think if you want a window into the way Blavatsky is kind of characterizing different people in the world and fitting them into the scheme, there you go. Look on the bottom of page 421. All right. That's all I want to talk about today. Have a good weekend.
Lots of food for thought right there.
Definitely.
Now, that bottom left one was a student of the Theosophical Society, a member and teacher, and talks about the Star of Venus. Yeah, the bottom right. Yeah, that one. Yeah, if you want to know, like, there's a coming change that has to do with the orbit of Venus. Who is Venus?
Oh, is that also
Star.
connected to the idea of Isis unveiled?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, facts for debunkers and skeptics. That would be me.
Mm-hmm.
Is this number one? Is this another hysterical conspiracy theory? That was my first thought. Your skepticism is understandable and necessary. However, to my knowledge, this is the first conspiracy which has profoundly called itself one and gone public with details of its agenda. The ringleaders display a confidence and an openness that plainly says, rightly or wrongly, that no one can stop them. What is more unsettling, they are convinced that no one in his right mind will want to stop them, not even the Jews. Their anti-Semitism is presented as benevolent correction, which will be embraced by the Jews themselves once they really understand their need. Let me be clear here. New Agers generally do not hate the Jews, but this makes their plan no less anti-Semitic and far more dangerous. And that's something that needs to be emphasized. You don't have to hate Jews to be anti-Semitic. It's simply holding beliefs about Jews that are essentially holding racist beliefs about Jews. The thing is, plenty of people can hold racist beliefs and not think that they hate a person. And it doesn't mean, like, just because they hold those beliefs doesn't mean that they hate them. But what it does is it provides a cover for people who really do hate them to spread that hate. And that's what I think a lot of people get defensive when they're called out on, different things, even if it's not their intent. I think there needs to be more of an effort to communicate to people that it's not that they're necessarily, being a bad person. It's more so that their lack of, or not lack of care, but their lack of, what's the word? Like, basically, their lack of proper control with their words gives a cover to people who really do want it. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, does that person want to provide cover to those people, or do they not want to? And it kind of comes down to, that's a basic level. Like, do you not hate Jews, or do you hate Jews? And if you don't hate Jews, you shouldn't have an issue, not providing cover to those people. But again, it's one of those things where people will be like, oh, don't infringe upon my speech. It's like, no one said you can. It's just like, when you say certain things, people are going to think a certain way of you. And maybe that doesn't matter to certain people, but like, that's also kind of the definition of antisocial behavior, which again, nothing wrong with that, but like, don't expect people to,
Antisocial behavior is something to be worrisome about. It really is.
Yeah. So let's see, where were we? Next one. The rainbow swastika is a condensed description of the philosophy and plans of the so-called Enlightenment from their own sources. Everything mentioned in this series is publicly distributed by various New Age groups. You can verify each statement for yourself. As I stated above, the material is either directly quoted or summarized from explanations by leading New Age spokesmen and their disciples, not what others say about them. Direct quotes are noted with the source, and sources for my own summaries can be provided. Those sources, which I know are available on the internet, are hot linked for your convenience. Any comments of my own, or not from NA sources, not New Age sources, are in brackets. Only the last part, a Jewish response, is completely drawn from my own thoughts. Number 2, who's worried about a lunatic fringe group? A lot of people ask this. A lot of people ask this about Hillman.
Yeah. I always go, sabotage Evie.
Honestly, I think that the Shabbatai Tzvi reference is a bit overused. People aren't referencing the Solar Temple, or like everybody mentions Shabbatai Tzvi, Jonestown.
Well, because it's an easy reference, right? But not everybody knows Sabbatai, right? Not if you follow Zephyr, like Robert Zephyr. I didn't even know about Sabbatai until Robert Zephyr. And that's how I learned about him.
And I mean, like,
because they don't talk, like, I studied under Golden Dawn Initiate for 7 years. She never told me. She gave me all these rabbis and Kabbalists to study and research, and never gave me that one.
Just I mean, like, for the audience, but also I don't know if you're aware of that. Like, Robert Zephyr's degree has been like called into question. He hasn't been able to prove that he actually got it. And then on top of that, people have done like analysis of his videos. About 75% of like the things that he says are literally just taken direct from Wikipedia.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
I've been up early.
But yeah, and that it shows you how easy it is to trick people into because, like, given I always thought that he was pushing some pretty weird, or like. Also, the other thing that's super weird, he's half Jewish, and yet he's like very pro-Nazi.
He's
Like,
very pro-Aryan. He's pro. I wouldn't say pro. I'd say pro-Aryan more than not. Of course, Nazis all the Aryan stuff too, and they're the ones obsessed with the race. So
I mean, to be fair, he's talked about he's talked proudly about how his on because like half of his family is Persian Jewish, the other half is like German. Or wait, no, I'm sorry, the Persian. Yeah, sorry, I thought I said German. Persian Jewish, and then the other half is like German. And he only really focuses on his German quote unquote Aryan side, and he talks proudly about how his grandfather fought in World War II. Now, who do you think he was fighting for? So and then the other really weird thing, which
hey, Sean.
oh hey Sean, the other thing that really sticks out to me is if you look into his Atlantean gardens. Actually, I am going to show you this, and this is kind of part of what I don't know whether I honestly don't know why he did this, but let's see, tax. Let's see if I can find it. ProPublica.
Welcome, Yom Ship of Curses. I like that name. Ship of
So
Curses.
what's
As long
interesting?
as you don't sail in to curse me or the chat, you be all right.
So
But
what's
yeah,
in
it is strange. Yam said it's strange that Sepper is part Jewish, but never really mentions it. Yeah.
so
You can tell it though. I'm sorry. If you have olive skin, I kind of can tell.
well,
I
I
can
mean,
kind of tell.
yeah, but just as much could be Italian or Greek or Spanish or North African.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's hard to tell. It is hard to tell. But, the Mediterranean skin is pretty easy to tell
Yeah. So something I want to
for
point out.
me.
Yeah. Something I want to point out from this. I mean, just look at the money he's been making from this, from his work, and keep in mind a lot of it's just plagiarized from Wikipedia. But so here it's listed as a social science or research institute, services, anthropology, sociology. But if you go to GuideStar, I think it's GuideStar, look what the NTEE code is. He has it registered as a Jewish organization. Like, what the hell?
Oh, wow. So is he collecting under a nonprofit? Is that
Yeah.
what he's doing?
Yeah, he's registered. He has his channel or whatever, Atlantean Gardens registered.
Holy crap. So Atlantean Gardens is listed under a nonprofit. He's not paying taxes from just a copy paste Wikipedia situation. Is that what we're dealing with?
Basically. And like I might be wrong on this, but like it's definitely weird. And like the fact that he's like very much like he's very leaning towards anti-Semitic stuff, and he has it registered as a Jewish organization. It makes no sense to me.
Mm-mm.
So, but anyway,
Inquiring minds want to know, Robert Sepper, if that's your real name.
So, who's worried about a lunatic fringe group? As you will see later, Alice Bailey was one of the most anti-Semitic occultists of the century. For those who insist that Bailey's doctrine is safely marginalized amongst obscure occultists, it will come as a shock to discover that she was indirectly awarded the UNESCO Peace Education Prize in 1989, and that her teachings are already incorporated in schools around the world, including U.S. public schools via the Goals 2000 program. Lunatic, perhaps; fringe, no longer, especially not with global star Robert Mueller openly promoting her teachings. The benevolent conspiracy, as New Age leader Marilyn Ferguson called it back in 1980, has been so successful that today it is a standard for social, political, and religious acceptability. It is consciously supported by a surprising number of prominent public figures and grassroots groups, although not all are aware of the anti-Semitism, and its teachings are being unknowingly absorbed by many more. For these reasons alone, it is urgent that we be informed about their platform. I have heard from skeptics who don't doubt the existence of a New Age conspiracy, benevolent or otherwise, and who recognize the danger to the Jewish people, but who are sure that such a movement will never have the world support to pull off its agenda. They point to the repeated postponements of New Age predictions of a world teacher emerging by a certain date to guide mankind into a planetary Luciferic initiation, a one world government, and a new age. These delays are actually the result of divine veto for now. Yeah.
I'm really sick of these people channeling God knows fucking what and dictating the destiny of nations. Okay. I'm really sick of it. I'm sick of all of them. We don't need new leaders or teachers, drinking the Kool-Aid and then babbling to us what a whole fucking nation should do, what the whole world should do. This doesn't make sense. But the issue is, this is heavy. It is here, and it's what's going on.
Yeah. Let's see.
And that's what happened. Somebody got a hold of a mushroom however long ago. They tripped fucking balls. They seen shit. They took it to the village and they started religion. That's how religion got started, I'm pretty sure.
Sounds about right. Oh, sweet. I found I also found a perfect video for after we finish this part.
Hey, what do you think makes Sepper anti-Semitic?
Well, for one,
Okay. Stop it. You did. Sorry, it was my cat.
Honestly, I'm too tired to remember off the top of my head, but he promotes these theories of a global Jewish cabal, and that'd be actually here. Let me see if I can find something real quick, because let's see. But no, he definitely is. It's just the type of thing where it's not at it's deniable, but and again, that's the type of thing where he could always claim, even though he doesn't want to mention it, that he's Jewish. And so, how could I be? But let's see, Robert Sepper and I totally misspelled that because
yeah, because you're moving stuff around.
Let's see.
I'm not playing into the narrative. We're going to look for receipts that could point to why Ariel would make that statement. He's moving stuff around. Be patient, Paula.
So here, I want to show you this. If you look, I wasn't sure. Okay, so this is his video on Zionism, and here's the videos that he has linked: Occult Secrets of the Book of Revelation, Magicians of the Temple, 1666 in the Dark Messiah, Shabbatai Tzvi, The Forbidden Doctrine in 1666, Esoteric Religion of the Aryan Magi. Okay, so that's another thing. He basically tries to imply that essentially that Semites are actually Aryan, or not the Semites, but that the Israelites were actually Aryans, and tries to connect through that. Even though there are potential connections, but you don't need to connect it through this idea that they weren't actually from the region that they were, but basically trying to imply that they settled the area and that they were from up north. But it's a type of thing where I'd rather not derail too much. But if you the fact that he associates communist, and notice this, subversive origins of communism. Subversive is a word that's often used in when people are talking about Jews, like Jews. He also implies that the whole 1666 thing, that the 666 has to do with the Antichrist, and basically the idea that the Jewish Messiah was the Antichrist. But even though Shabbatai Tzvi was completely against both Jewish and Christian understandings of what was right. It's the type of thing where he himself might not be outright saying things like, Jews are evil or Jews are doing this, but he's basically setting up the background for people who do want to. If you like, I just want to show you. If you look at his comments
9 out of 10.
in this, comments are turned off. Why do you think he turned comments off?
Yeah, yeah,
I
that makes sense.
I wonder if there's comments for any of these, but
And he used to have 2 or 3 channels. I'm not really sure which one he uses the most now, because I don't really keep up with him, because it's just really the same stuff over and over and over, regurgitate under, different visuals, or there's nothing really new there. So
oh, here, I found another example. Look at this. If you look at the thumbnail for Subversive or Origins of Communism, it's literally a Jewish star.
mhm.
And then, is it, let's see if I can find anything else. Occult Bloodlines of Canaan, which,
Right there, he's got Zebby with the Whore of Babylon.
yeah.
That's Zebby sabotaging it. Hold on, my cat's jumping on my tail. Get out.
And then here you have like mention of Moloch or Saturn worship. Basically, it's the type of thing where he's running interference for anti-Semites, and I don't know what he himself believes, but he gives so much like he basically gives them ground to stand on.
Right.
So like I do think that like it's
right. Like, does he highlight what Blavatsky said about her thinking that they were elitist?
Let's see.
I know, Paula. I've listened to him for years, and it's just become the same stuff over and over again.
It's
if you listen to people, they're pretty much saying the same thing everywhere.
Yeah. And like
because there's a narrative. There is a narrative. There's a push. Like there's a heavy Gnostic push now. There's a heavy anti-Christian push. There's a heavy anti-religion push. Everybody's just, it's what we were talking about last night, me and Cheryl. Throw everything in the pot, pull it out, and let's see what sticks at the wall. Whatever sticks, okay, maybe that'll be the new world religion, right?
Yeah. So this is interesting. So I found this video on Occult Bloodlines of Canaan. Comments are on. If I search for Jew, what's going to pop up? Okay, probably. Oh, most of it's probably going to be from the videos. So I mean, like, I do want to clarify. I don't think that he's an anti-Semite in the same. Like, I don't think he might be an anti-Semite, but I think what's more is that he promotes some anti-Semitic ideas. And if I had more time,
true. I can agree to that. He does. He does. He does show how he thinks that the Aryan race is superior too.
Yeah. Okay, so here, listen to this. Someone commented, the Chabad group is extremely influential. It would make for a very interesting video to explore their ties and purpose, Mr. Supper. You can find photos of rabbis standing behind almost every world leader at some point throughout their careers that wields power. When identified, they all have ties to Chabad. They aspire to bring the coming of the Mashiach, ben David, whether by hook or crook, and they have the power to do so, or so they believe. They are done waiting for God to deliver their Savior, so try to manipulate world events to artificially produce the end times, weird times we are living through peace talk. So there's an outright anti-Semite revealing themselves. Someone responded.
And they do that all the time in Hillman's comments in the past. I don't go looking, but I've had people send me stuff. You've sent me stuff where there is a lot of anti-Semitist followers, heavy supporters of Hillman. Absolutely. So Hillman's not in your face about anything. Neither is Robert Zeppers. So just remember that, Paula.
So let's see, was there something? Oh, okay, yeah. We're reading this. So for now, which New Agers indirectly acknowledge and which they unable to and which they are unable to circumvent. To attribute these glitches to a disorganized movement is dangerous and ignores the fact that the growth of the New Age influence worldwide is solidifying exponentially each year. Read before you scoff, please. 3. You can't generalize about the New Age movement. It's too broad and variable for all those groups to be lumped with Alice Bailey. Whether they name Bailey as the source for their beliefs is not important. The test is whether they embrace her philosophy. I have yet to find a group calling itself New Age that does not anticipate and welcome the demise of the Old Age. Most do not question who set the parameters for the old, which has to go. They do not presume to challenge the ancient wisdom. If they are reciting the Great Invocation, relying on spirit guides for enlightenment, denouncing separatism as the world's great evil, and or denigrating Judaism as an outmoded spiritual system, then they are Bailey's disciples teaching Bailey's creeds. Now, you want to know something really disturbing about this?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's have what?
Okay, so do you know who was a theosophist?
No. Who was a theosophist?
Take
You
a
gonna
guess.
show us?
Someone pretty influential, and I have no doubt that she had influence. If her husband wasn't also a theosophist, that she would have had influence on him.
I don't know. Let's say it.
World Invocation Day, a day when
Oh, wow.
together to say the Great Invocation, a prayer which belongs to no group.
Well, look at her. She's blonde hair, blue eyes. That's what they love. I don't know why they're after the blondes now. In ancient times, they were after the redhead. That's crazy.
Can you take off the comments so we can see the captions?
Yeah, but I want you to answer it, though, before we move it.
There seems to be news about the Amorites being Aryans, but they spoke a Semitic language because of the Akkadian Empire's influence. And Abraham was Amorite, Hittite, right? I mean, like the tradition is that he would have come from Babylon, and that he was Amorite. No mention of him being Hittite. And I think that it's also important to stress that there really is no such thing as, like, the ideas of Aryan and Semite or Semitic is very much something we project onto the past. Like, it's more connected to the language that you speak than anything. So you could say, like, I mean, basically, there's no reason to think that he was, but if there's a connection between the Amorites, I mean, it's possible. But again, it's important to realize that Amorite just means Westerner. Or wait, no. Oh, I might be off. Amorite, is it? Or I think it's those who came to the. I need to look this up. Amorite. I don't know.
Okay. I need to clarify. Poor Paula. Paula, listen to me, lady. The Theosophical Society is the one pushing all of this. Well, I wouldn't say it's just the Theosophical Society, but the people that we're talking about come from the Theosophical Society. They are the ones that are really pushing the New World Order and the Great Reset. Okay. And there are a lot of people that believe that it stems from this sibling line that became the female Illuminati. Okay. And then I need to send you some books on the satanic feminism or the movements. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that they don't want you to know when you go into paganism. Like when I got into paganism, I didn't think that any of this was going on, but that was that was 25 years ago. Okay. But yeah, it's the feminism, the rise up of women, the push forward. The women that are doing this, they're pulling also from the ancient text of the Greek. And they are they're leaning heavy on these men, Blavatsky and Annie Besant. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a big push. Now, I don't know if the female Illuminati even exists, but people like Michael Tsarian seem to think that it is some Luciferic female Illuminati that is pushing this accelerationist death cult situation.
I mean, like, I'm not going to say that, but like, it is kind of interesting that a lot of, especially the early, well, even now, Theosophy has very much been a woman-dominated movement,
Mm.
which I also think is like basically partially because of that. A lot of the criticisms that you see leveled against them, at least by like the far right conservatives, tend to kind of have a lot with that, and so it's almost like, I don't know. I feel like that's not the right thing to be focusing on, and it gives them more power against them. To just say like, oh, look how patriarchal the people pushing back against us are, when there's plenty of people who aren't patriarchal who should be pushing back.
Right. Well, you really need to start with Blavatsky, Paula. You need to look at her, where she come from. She's from Russia. Was she influenced by the teachings of, what was that guy's name? The weird guy that never bathed. Women loved him and he never bathed. Rasputin. Yeah. I've wondered, did Rasputin influence Blavatsky? I don't know. So if you want to learn more about it, then dig into what she was, where she was from, who was her influencers, who was her financial backing. Follow the money.
So yeah, just to get into that real quickly, a lot of her knowledge came from her grandfather's library. He was a master mason, and he was also really influential in the Russian government. Like, I think she came from lower royalty, so like not like higher nobility, lower royalty. I might be off about that, but so a lot of her ideas, I have a feeling she studied real occult texts, and I wouldn't be surprised if she twisted it for her own ends, or I don't even know, but that she actually also worked with. Actually, I'll find this in a bit. But basically, one of her disciples actually is largely thought to be responsible for the propagation of the Protocols of the Elders of Learned Elders of Zion, which is the text that was responsible for propagating the most anti-Semitism in the 20th century, particularly by figures like Henry Ford and trying to think who else was really. It got propagated throughout the world, but Henry Ford paid for it to be translated into English from Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so this is First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt reading The Great Invocation on national radio.
Millions of people throughout the world are joining together to say the Great Invocation, a prayer which belongs to no group or individual, but to men and women of goodwill everywhere. The Sunday editor of the New York Times has said
that it belongs to no organization. That's false. But to men and women of goodwill everywhere. Basically saying, if you don't agree with this, you're not of goodwill.
The Sunday editor of the New York Times has said, we need, in addition to the A-bomb and the H-bomb, what I call the S-bomb, the spiritual bomb. You are invited to share in the meditation of the Great Invocation as it is repeated by an outstanding American, Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
This is Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt speaking from New York within the United Nations building. We're living today in a troubled world. In many parts of the world, people have a sense of discouragement as to whether they will ever solve their difficulties. And it seems to me that those of us who feel that a spiritual leadership is necessary in the world are looking for ways in which to express what we feel. And someone sent me the other day an invocation.
Hold on. So Yam Ship of Curses says she does look very manly. Are you trying to push transvestigation shit? Because that's
no, that's what, because Paula said Eleanor doesn't look feminine.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that before.
No.
But no, like that is like that is a theory that I see a lot of people saying, and I think that, like, I don't know if there's some reason why they actually think. Not to say that the reason is true, but like I don't know if there's some like occult reason why they're convinced of that. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for.
Well, if she's German women look, I mean, they just, a lot of them do. The Scandinavian women, I mean, that was like kind of known that the Scandinavian women look more manly.
Anyway, sorry for that. I got distracted.
It is called the Great Invocation. And it seems to me to express the aspirations held by many people throughout the world, so I'm going to read it to you on this program. The Great Invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the Master knows and serves. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and hope
So
restrain.
seal the door where evil dwells. That has a lot of coded meaning behind it, and actually does tie into anti-Semitism, oddly enough. And the thing is, it's the type of thing where I don't know what Eleanor Roosevelt believed. I don't know what anyone.
Well, when they talk about light, okay, I was raised Southern Baptist. We didn't talk about light. However, I did have visions of massive light. I'm not getting into that. The ones that talk about the light the most is the Luciferians. They're the ones that love the light, right?
Yeah.
Rays of light. Who is it talks about the rays? The 1,000 rays of light, or whoever talks about it.
Talking about the 7 ray, the 7 rays.
No, the 1,000 rays of light. I think that was Hillary Clinton talking about it. I don't remember.
But I mean, the whole motif of rays of light, like that's even in the Bible. It's pretty universal. Because going on the whole idea that, the idea of Lucifer is more so an archetype than it is any one deity. But
Paula, I don't think it's the ruling class. It was a scientific article I read that was talking about it, how they were more masculine, and this is just what they said. They said that the Scandinavian women were more masculine, and the women were more masculine, and the men were more feminine because they had the long blonde hair. I don't know, maybe because they had the long blonde hair. I don't know.
But what I was saying before, though, is that I don't know what Eleanor Roosevelt believed. My point is that you can have people saying this great invocation, and they don't know what it means. It's the people at the top who know what it means.
No, they don't know what the statue. They have no idea what the Statue of Liberty is.
Wait,
what a lot of Lucifer.
Isn't it? I think
this is Rome. This is Rome. Absolutely.
Yeah, like was it on top of the capital is Columbia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see.
I know they work, Paula.
Let's see. Oh, so Bailey's creates. Okay. Notes for opponents of New Age teaching. It's a rare individual these days who does not find a friend or relative mesmerized by the New Age light and love double talk. If you do, you know how painful it is to watch someone close to you losing their psychological stability, abandoning their normal responsibilities and relationships, and slipping away into a self-absorbed quest for do-it-yourself godhood, doomed to fail again and again. Literally, this is the stuff that Amon Hillman is pushing, that, if you partake in the mystery, you can achieve aeonic life.
Mm-hmm. What he's not telling you is that the oracles died very young. They didn't have extended life. Maybe in essence, the people that partook from their whatever Pornea, maybe they live longer, but the muses, the sibyls, the oracles did not.
Yeah. Also, I think what I was going to say is the Statue of Liberty. You could also connect it to Venus, which is also Lucifer. But all right. The linked information below will add to your distress, especially if you and or your friend are Jewish. But you also gain insight as to how someone could fall for such empty promises and contradictions. That insight can give you leverage to help them get back to the solid ground. If you have faith in the God of Israel, you will find him an interested and indispensable ally in rescuing the people you care about. Even if you don't personally know someone who has been turned upside down by New Age thinking, if you are Jewish and or love the Jewish people, you have an interest in preserving the Jewish community and in defending them against plots to eliminate them. But you can't fight what you don't understand. So whatever your motivations, here are the basic facts to equip you. Number 1, different new branches, same old roots. The premise of New Age, NA hereafter, sometimes so the premises of the New Age, sometimes called the New World Order, are most clearly mapped out in a religious society called Theosophy, founded in 1875 by Helena Blavatsky, which coined many of the code words found in this material, and which remains a prime source for piecing together New Age foundations. Most, if not all, of New Age concepts predate Theosophy, as its founder freely admitted. They borrowed heavily from classical Hinduism and Tibetan Buddhism, with large doses of Gnosticism.
They borrowed from everybody.
Astrology, and other occultic power quests. So despite the name New Age, we are surveying an ancient system of worship found in various forms around the world: Babylonian, Egyptian, Norse, Atlantean, Pan-Animist, American Indian, and other religions dependent on empowerment from various spirit guides.
Whatever sticks to the wall, Ariel.
Yep.
Whatever sticks to the fucking wall.
Exactly. And shit tends to stick pretty easily. So this is why New Age teaching is so easily adapted to so many cultures. Alice Bailey, the next major New Age leader, channeled the extensive directives for the framework of the New Age, what she called the New World Order, and fully subscribed to Theosophy as well. Number 2, logic not required. The discerning reader will notice some New Age statements that contradict others, especially, like, for instance, that they don't have a spark of light, and then someone else says, "Oh, they have a spark of God." That contradicts others.
No, you've got the spark of demon.
Especially regarding good and evil, fate and choice, equality and elitism, truth and falsehood, and the origins of Maitreya or Lucifer. Pointing out these contradictions to hardcore New Agers will not cause them to doubt, since they have accepted the Hindu worldview that truth, good, and reality are whatever each finds within himself at any given moment. They will patiently reply that your demand for consistency is in any of these is arbitrary, unimaginative, and unnecessarily narrow. Do not expect logical analysis, empirical observation, or comparative argument to be taken seriously, as New Agers respect subjective experience only, and then only for the one who experienced it firsthand. There are also a few contradictions about the origin of the Jews, but interestingly, there are no contradictions about the destiny of those who insist on retaining the faith of their fathers.
Hey, did you hear Hillman say that the Jewish tradition stemmed from the Sibyl practices today?
No, but I have heard him in the past say that Judaism, Christianity, and I don't know if he said Islam, but implicitly Islam are Bronze Age Saturnian satanic religions. That's what he says.
Yeah, and I believe Lucifera is a Greek word. Is that right?
Yeah, from like luz, from light. And then so luz light, fair, bearer, so the light bearer, light carrier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the Sibyl that was the light bearer. Shit, my book's over there. Who was the light bearer?
Prometheus?
No. There was one Sibyl that was tasked. She carried the torch. And it's so crazy because let's talk about the Sibyls they held one held a cross, one had a ceramic manger, One had a crown of thorns. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking that these women are just doing the same thing that the women did uh, in ancient times as sibyls, which was hearkening in this new teacher, you know. Did the devil come through the Egyptian? You know, he could be the jinn, he could be um he could even, he could even be seen as Prometheus, I guess. Because the gods are just their ancestors. All of this is ancestral worship of and honoring nature principles. Like anything Egyptian is definitely honoring ancestors and honoring nature principles. At least that's how I was taught in the Golden Dawn. Okay, is honoring nature principles, not any fictitious, like an idol, like idol worship. It became idol worship. It didn't start as idol worship, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
All right, so check this out. This will give my voice a tiny break, and this really gets into it.
Hmm.
This is from Free the Captives. I'm going to admit, they're pretty out there at times, but like
a God in many forms.
that definitely has a theological bias and like an agenda. But the difference is that basically, if you can separate that from what they're saying, that like the facts from what they believe, then that's how you get
Mhm.
Goddess. I do not believe there is a physical being, God. I believe in the energies of God and Goddess.
We people say Ram, Krishna, Shiva, Muslims Allah, Christians Jesus.
I've had the experience of God, and that universal energy of goodness.
In a sense, everything is God. God is everything.
Believe that there is a God, and we refer to God by the name
I
Allah.
believe there is a source
God is
and creators.
So, like for instance, you can see like they're like, oh no, Jesus is only
we can recreate the future by changing our thoughts, changing our beliefs, coming to an agreement, getting rid of divisive doctrines, and agreeing to these things, and then we're all one, and then we're going to all hold hands like the big Rockefeller Christmas tree, and God, quote unquote, God is going to shoot the joy of the force, which is what Barbara Marx Hubbard's interpretation from Christ is. The joy of the force will go through all mankind, and there will be a planetary Pentecost, and all mankind will be born again. I don't think you want to be a part of that.
This is forced rituals. These are all forced rituals and doctrine. Like literally the only reason we have end times anything, the only reason we have apocalypses or whatever is it seems like these things have to be pushed when society gets to, I don't know, laid back, lazy. I don't know. I've been trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah. So this is one of the most famous quotes from Barbara Marx Hubbard. We come to bring death. We do this for the sake of the planet. The riders of the pale horse are about to pass among you. They will separate the wheat from the chaff. Barbara Marx Hubbard, the book of co-creation.
Yeah. Yeah. You can look at her, you can look her in the eyes and you can be like, there's nothing there. If there are people born without spirits, or if the spirit leaves them through trauma, she's one of them. Because see if you can pull up her picture. I want people to see what she looks like. See, tell me if you see anything in her eyes.
It's going to show her in a few seconds.
Oh, okay.
But what I was going to say is that like this imagery, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Mengele at Auschwitz telling people to go to the right or the left.
Oh my God.
And the fucked up thing is, she's Jewish. How can she say this and not hear what she's saying?
Peace, 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 but there is no peace, said Jeremiah.
Cohen. There's another Jewish name.
just that, Marianne Williamson,
Mm.
which
Marianne
she ran for.
Williamson. Yes,
Yep.
what? Oh, you telling me she's a dark mother? I love her.
I mean, her mentor was literally Barbara Marx Hubbard.
Oh, fuck.
Actually, wait, I might be off with that. I might be mistaking her from someone else, but like I'm looking
Well,
this
it's
up now.
bad enough that her name is with Barbara's, okay? Bad enough. Enough said. It's okay. I didn't think she wanted war. I didn't think she wanted death. That's not what she preached at the women's international conference however long ago. She was preaching against war. Anyway, go ahead and play it.
Yeah, she eulogized Barbara Marx Hubbard, so something tells me that. Yeah. And also Rabbi Michael Lerner. So like it's important that like just because someone's involved in the New Age doesn't mean that they're bad. I mean, like regardless of what they're.
I didn't know the New Age was bad. I knew that for some reason all the woohoo was getting pushed and all the star seeds was getting pushed, and now like the market was flooded with tarot that didn't even make sense, oracles that were just stupid, and literature like people were just okay. I forgot what her name is, but this one woman come out with like 50 books and 17 oracle decks. Okay, so there's some nasty going on. I'm upset about Marianne though, because they're doing her forward appearance is very, very much positive, but taking everything into consideration, what I've learned since 2020, she probably has her own cult too. Oh my gosh, Ariel popped out. That's why he's not playing the video. Hi, Ariel.
Hey, I think I have to restart my. Yeah, the same stuff that happened last stream happened now. It's really weird.
That's okay. Well, I was going to suggest that we start to wrap it up after we watch that video anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost to the end of the intro anyway, but here, let me restarting my computer now.
I hear you, Paula. I'm upset. Upset.
What about
Marianne Williamson?
Also, did you see Deepak Chopra was there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yeah. Well, what do you expect? You know who's I mean, it's a club and we're not in it.
Yeah, George Carlin.
We're not in it.
Okay, 1 second. I'm trying to restart my computer and
That's okay. Y'all please be patient with us. We're trying to get that video, but at Barbara Hubbard, man, I guess I could show.
What? What were you saying? Shoot.